Hi Crypto World, I'm Yuvia Ivanova, and today on the Founders Series we have Trevor Koverko, the co-founder of Polymath. Polymath enables people to migrate securities to the blockchain in a legally compliant way. They've created a security token standard called the ST20, which is the security token equivalent of Ethereum's ERC20. Securities are a multi-trillion-dollar market, and projects like Polymath are facilitating the migration of that to the blockchain. To get the show notes from this episode, go to cryptoradio.io/polymath. This episode is brought to you by MakerDAO, a decentralized autonomous organization that creates and backs the DAI stablecoin on the Ethereum blockchain. DAI is available for purchase on several decentralized exchanges such as Oasis DEX and Paradex. For more information about how DAI works, go to cryptoradio.io/maker.
Welcome to Crypto Radio. We interview the top thinkers and entrepreneurs in the blockchain and cryptocurrency industry. We also cover topics like trading, investing, and ICOs. We're your hosts, Mike Gilliland, Michael Pohl, Chris Sparks, and Yuvia Ivanova. We're entrepreneurs, crypto investors, and co-founders of a new blockchain investment platform called cosyndicate.io. We created CoSyndicate and Crypto Radio to make crypto investing a better experience for you. If you're new to the show and you'd like a list of our top episodes and resources, go to cryptoradio.io/start. If you like our podcast, you can subscribe, share, and follow us on social media and leave us a rating and review on iTunes and elsewhere. It helps others find the show, and we really appreciate it. You can find all those links at cryptoradio.io/start.
Welcome to the show.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
So why don't we start with your elevator pitch?
So Polymath helps businesses launch compliant security tokens.
So security tokens, from what I understand, are going to be super relevant in the next couple of years and are probably going to surpass utility tokens. So how did you come up with that idea?
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the big mega trend in crypto these days is assets getting tokenized. And for me, it all started in 2012. I bought my first Bitcoin. So that was kind of the gateway drug for me. And I kind of fell down the rabbit hole after that and never looked back. But yeah, so I bought my first Bitcoin. Shortly after that, I was doing a lot of advising and investing. I was involved in the early ICOs. So these were, back then, they were on the Bitcoin blockchain, not Ethereum. So you had to figure out how to decouple Bitcoin from the blockchain, which wasn't designed for other altcoins. It was just designed for its own native coin, Bitcoin. So anyways, I was involved in kind of Mastercoin and MadeSafe, Factom, some of the early ICOs. And right away, I thought it was the coolest thing that you could basically IPO a protocol as I saw it. And then one day Ethereum came along, and Ethereum, I was very lucky to be in Toronto at the time. That's where Ethereum was founded. I was close to that project. I invested in their token sale. I think you could get 2,000 Ether per Bitcoin back then. And Bitcoin was only a couple $100 back in 2013. So then Ethereum came along. And then at the time I was running a fund. I was an entrepreneur as well. I had a private equity fund that invested in cash flow, specifically cash flowing tech companies. And I decided one day I'm going to tokenize it. That was my big idea. I was going to take this cash flow from my fund and turn it into a dividend paying token. And I was very excited to kind of commercialize this and be the first security token. But ultimately, it never happened because the SEC decided, well, at least it turns out what I was doing was a security. So I had to, figure out how to get compliant, how to register, how to restrict secondary trading. There was all these things I had to consider. And it's at that point I realized that maybe there's a better way. Maybe instead of launching my own little micro fund, if I could launch a platform that could launch thousands of micro funds, it would be a more highly leveraged initiative for me. So that's the story behind Polymath.
Yeah, it sounds like you were trying to solve your own problem and then you kind of came up with the solution organically.
Exactly. Yeah, I was eating my own dog food, so to speak.
And how are you guys doing that exactly?
Well, we have a standard called ST20. It's kind of like ERC20, but for security tokens. And basically what we've done is we've made crypto more regulatory friendly. We've made compliance baked in at the protocol level. So what I mean by that is any business now can confidently launch their own coin, knowing they can make it compatible with whatever local regulatory frameworks are in place. So whether that's restricting trading, whether that's ensuring everybody's KYC'd properly, whether it's having certain limits and ceilings on various funding, all those things that you need to have to be compliant, we try to solve inside the token itself.
Are you guys working with specific jurisdictions primarily, or is it global?
We're global. It's kind of like Ethereum is global. And we want to make it so we don't discriminate if you're from a country that doesn't have established securities laws or doesn't have a crypto community. We still want you to be able to launch your own token. So the way we've done that is just by releasing our code. We've open sourced everything. And no matter who you are, you can use the tools that we've built to launch your own token. So what we did to kind of think about being a global project first is we studied different regulatory bodies and we found the common denominator between them, and we released kind of those types of features directly into our product. So basically the SEC is the elephant in the room. If you're compliant with the SEC, you're likely compatible with whatever local frameworks are in place. I think it's also important to note that there's two kind of key factors in terms of where are you regulated, what jurisdiction. It's like picking your company, like where are you domiciled? That's number one. And number two, which is actually probably even more important than number one, is where are your investors from? And yes, we can call them investors, not purchasers, because it is a security and they're making an investment for profit. That's one of the conditions of the Howey test. But the second thing is where are your investors from? And that's very important because the regulatory bodies, that's their mandate, is to protect quote unquote grandma, protect retail investors who aren't sophisticated. So it's very, very important for you when you launch your security token on Polymath or anywhere else. It's important that you consider where are your investors from. And then you have to understand that you're probably going to be under the purview of whatever regulatory body oversees that jurisdiction.
Yeah. So I want to understand a little bit about how the sausage is made. Can you tell us about the nitty-gritty of exactly like what category these security tokens fall into from the regulator's sense?
First of all, we have to kind of admit that what we're doing is a security. And there's pros and cons to that. But I think the most important feature of admitting your security is that you know what rules to apply. You know that there's 100 years of case law that goes back to 1933, basically, when the Securities Act was implemented. And since then, there's all kinds of precedents that have been set and tests that you know to apply. And that's the main thing, is that you admit that you're a security. And what the regulators like about this, I think, I say this all the time, the regulators want innovation. They're not out there to just like stop people from innovating. They kind of have a dual mandate, is to protect retail investors, but also to not stifle innovation. So security tokens, I think, are an amazing middle ground there, because on the one hand, the regulators want crypto to flourish, but they also want their existing legal frameworks to be respected, and they want to make sure that their existing laws have integrity. So I think that's why we've got such good feedback from regulators globally, is that we're helping them do their job and we're helping kind of provide more support to their existing frameworks.
Right, that makes sense. So does it roughly fall under the same regulation as equities, or is it something else?
Yeah, it is. It's really simple. Like a security token, I say this all the time, a security token is just a unit of ownership. So it's a share in a equity, or it's an LP share in a fund, or it's a unit in an investment trust. That's all it is. It's just one way to look at ownership, whether it's the legacy way, which is like a share certificate that collects dust in a filing cabinet somewhere, or whether it's the 2.0 version, which is smart contracts, which is having kind of your ownership being programmatic. So you can actually do interesting things with tokens that you can't do with static equity like share certificates.
Yeah, that really makes sense. I mean, digitizing all of that stuff has been a long time coming anyway, and that seems this could be it.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of exciting things you can do once you have crypto ownership. You can actually automate a lot of your business processes. You can remove friction when it comes to back office things like proxy voting and paying dividends and fundraising.
Yeah.
All that stuff can be dramatically improved when it lives on top of a smart contract, not in a filing cabinet.
Do you guys have competitors? Are there other people doing kind of similar things?
Yeah, we were, I think, one of the first to kind of get the megaphone out and tell people of the coming tsunami of security tokens. We started this back a couple of years ago. But nowadays, everybody's talking about it. Everybody's trying to solve problems in the ecosystem. And I think this is a really good thing, because as much as we'd love to be the only game in town, that's actually not going to work, because this whole ecosystem needs to be developed. All of this infrastructure that Wall Street enjoys, like custodianship services, like custody, like I just said, like transfer pricing, like exchanges, all these infrastructure aren't built for the crypto community yet. So everybody needs to kind of rally together to make this work. And that's why there's not a lot of security tokens in existence today, because there's still a lot of uncertainty and a lot of work to be done.
How far along are you guys with the project now?
We've been working really hard. We released our mainnet earlier this year, and we just released a big update to that. We have our testnet live for Polymath 2.0, and we're very excited about it. We've been blown away by the demand we've received from issuers all over the world. Thousands of funds, of real estate projects, of startups. Everybody's looking to launch their own token. And I think we're the global leader by pretty much any metric in terms of security token platforms. And we're really hoping to start building our network effect with issuers and investors as soon as we can.
What is your roadmap looking like for the next 6 to 12 months? What are you guys planning to do?
Yeah, we're just hustling with launches. So we want to get as many security tokens out the door. It's not a fast process because you're interfacing with existing regulations that you can't really streamline. But we're still trying to, and we're still innovating on expediting the process. But we expect to have a lot of high-profile launches this year. We're using kind of fundraising as one of our main metrics. So we want to help projects raise capital, just like Ethereum helps projects raise capital. So yeah, stay tuned. We've got some exciting announcements in that department coming up.
Nice. And what are some of the key milestones that you think will determine your success in this time frame?
Yeah, it's tokens. How many tokens can we launch that are powered by Polymath? And that's number one. Number two, how much funds have been raised in the network? And we're trying to maximize that as well. And then finally, we want to have a lot of secondary market activity. So we want all of our Polymath powered tokens to be listed on exchanges and traded. And right now, that's impossible because exchanges don't really exist in a scalable way. But that's all changing. We have some of our close contacts at T0 are launching exchanges very soon. We're very close with those guys. There's Hyperion is a Canadian project we're excited about. There's Templum. There's all kinds of exchanges coming online. So even though we're closest with T0 and we're going to have some partnerships with them, we also see a lot of other activity too.
So there aren't any exchanges that accept security tokens right now, but there are a few launching. Is that right?
Generally speaking, I think Templum may be live. I think the point, though, is nothing's really fully commercialized yet. So it's in the process. There's a lot of smart people working on solving these problems. So I'm confident they'll get solved.
Yeah, well, that seems like a very exciting area with a lot of just wide open fields where people can innovate if they want to.
Yeah, absolutely. Crypto is the most exciting space to be in. And I think security token is the most exciting space within crypto.
So can we talk about your team a little bit? How did you guys all meet and what are your backgrounds? What did you do before crypto?
Yeah, absolutely. Chris is my co-founder. He is also from Toronto. We grew up in the same city downtown, and he's a lawyer. So he's kind of a rare combination of being a really smart legal professional and also knowing crypto.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very rare unicorn back in those days. So I pounced on getting him to join the project early, and he's been indispensable, getting our kind of legal framework set up and all the other aspects of our early days. And we also brought in some really smart developers. That was a priority for us, is getting the best technical people we could. And that's why we brought in guys like Adam Dosa. He worked on Wall Street. He was a kind of director level technical manager at some of the big banks on Wall Street. And then also guys like Pablo Ruiz. He's a machine for us. He's done a lot of really important things at the technical level, pushing our core protocol out. He oversaw a lot of our token distribution. So he's amazing. He's out in Argentina. He's very prominent in kind of the Solidity space. So he does a lot of kind of blogging and thought leadership in that department. We also have a couple guys also in Toronto who come from the banking world. So Cal, he's actually from New York, but he worked at the Abu Dhabi Sovereign Wealth Fund. And now he's leading our issuers team, which we're excited about. And then Igor as well, who worked at Canada's largest independent investment bank. And he's working on our partnerships and helping out with issuers as well.
You mentioned some of security tokens exchanges that you guys are talking with. Are there any other partnerships worth mentioning or any advisors?
Yeah, absolutely. We're very fortunate and blessed to have one of the best advisory teams in the world. Guys like Eric Voorhees, David Johnston, Anthony Diorio, Matt Rozak, Stephen Nerioff. And it's just, they're very lucky. Patrick Byrne. These are kind of co-founders of companies like Shapeshift, Overstock, Ethereum. So the best in the business. We're very very lucky. And they're also very active and engaged, which, they're not just like on a slide deck somewhere. We have weekly meetings with many of them. And it's very exciting to me that we can keep those guys interested because there's so many other exciting projects going on. In terms of partnerships, we've been very busy as well, working with KYC providers, exchanges, like you said, all kinds of other infrastructure businesses that we need to piggyback off of. Some examples are Shift. That's a local Toronto company as well. I should say Toronto's got a great critical mass of talent and blockchain capital.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah, no, it's true. And this is like a very underrated cluster, not just in crypto, but all of tech. And that's why we're here. But because of Ethereum minting so many crypto millionaires, a lot of that has been recycled back into the community. And we're actually the benefactor of some of that capital as well. And I think that's kind of the Silicon Valley effect is unfolding here in Toronto. But yeah, so lots of other Toronto projects. We love Aon is a close project of ours that we learn a lot from, and vice versa there in Toronto. They do blockchain interoperability, and we see some future partnerships with them at some point. But Shift, like I was saying, Joe Weinberg's company is an identity protocol for all blockchains, and we're excited to kind of work with them to help get as many accredited investors into our network as we can.
Yeah, it seems that the space is becoming more mature and the focus is more on the accredited investors, high net worth individuals, rather than just a 20-year-old guy in his basement.
Yeah, exactly. I think you have to kind of respect the regulations, and there's exemptions to the Securities Act like Reg D that are great, and they allow us to help other businesses raise money in an innovative kind of way. So, but yeah, it's very important. That's a common denominator, like I was saying, is accredited investors. And are you suitable? Are you accredited to invest in this product? That's what the regulators want to know. And we're very close to kind of helping people help themselves when it comes to making sure everyone's accredited. So that's one of our priorities, is figuring out how to make sure only accredited people can be in our ecosystem for the most part. Some regulations actually allow some retail investors. It's very limited. But generally speaking, we have to prevent non-authorized, unaccredited investors from holding tokens. That's the key. We have to restrict non-authorized people from holding, buying, or selling, or trading the token. And we've came up with some innovative ways on how to do that. It's kind of ironic because crypto is supposed to be open and it's supposed to be free and democratic. What we're trying to do is restrict some of that. And it's kind of a shame because we do generally believe that everyone should be able to invest in exciting projects, especially crypto projects. But unfortunately, the regulations don't allow that. And of course, we do want to protect investors as well. So we're very thankful and grateful for the regulators we've been working with. And I think by and large, the global regulation community has done a great job. They haven't overstepped too much. They've allowed this community to flourish a little bit. They're cranking down on fraudsters, and I think that's amazing. We need more of that, more kind of protection from pyramid schemes and other crypto scams. So I do tip my hat to US and Canadian regulators, especially for what they've done so far.
And the definition of accredited investor might also change with time. There's some people in the field that have ideas about new ways of defining investor that is capable of investing in the space. Maybe just somebody who's worked in the space for long enough, who understands the technology, but maybe isn't at the same wealth level that a traditional accredited investor would be.
Yeah, that's my personal view, is that some of these laws seem a little bit antiquated and outdated. If Ethereum was a security, there would be 10,000 people that would not have become millionaires. Most Ethereum people were retail investors. I was probably a retail investor back then, 2012, 2013. So I think there's some truth to that. If someone's rich but unsophisticated, why should he be able to invest in a project? Whereas someone who's smart but not rich, she's not allowed to participate. So to me, that seems a little unfair. I do see why those rules exist. You have exploitative founders who kind of unscrupulously take money from grandma. But at the same time, I think it's a balancing act and they're doing a great job.
So what are some of your marketing strategies? How are you planning to reach your target market?
Marketing is very important, and we take a lot of pride in our marketing because you got to stand out. There's so much noise. There's so much saturation in the space. You got to tell your message and you got to evangelize. You have to convince businesses who aren't technical necessarily to use crypto and to benefit from it. So a lot of what we do is community building. I think community is the most important metric in any decentralized project. We have one of the most vibrant and large communities in the space. We were the first group to max out Telegram's 50,000 limit back when we did our sale. And we take pride in that. We don't think it's a vanity metric at all, because like I said, the health and the success of a project is literally how robust and how engaged the community is for your project.
And you guys do conferences as well. Actually, one of my co-founders for another project attended your conference a couple months ago.
Yes, we did. Polycon. Yeah. And without trying to sound like we're bragging, it was one of the best received events I've ever been to. And I wish I could take more credit. We had an amazing events team put it on, but we blew the doors off and we're excited to do another one soon.
So what is your revenue model for the business? Do you guys take a percentage of each raise that comes through, or is it flat fee, or how does it work?
Well, it's similar to Ethereum. Ethereum doesn't really have a business model, and our core protocol operation doesn't either. We don't make money. It's kind of like Linux or any open source community. That's not the point of, we're not trying to make success fees on projects. So yeah, just like Ethereum, our core kind of foundation doesn't have a business model. That said, there are lots of interesting business models that emerge on top of this protocol. So there's lots of services and advisory businesses and exchanges and custody services and all these other kind of for-profit businesses that I think can and should be thriving. So we're not ruling out kind of being active in supporting those people from the community as well.
So why should people get involved in your project, and what do you think is the most exciting thing about what you guys are doing?
Security tokens, baby. It's getting every business. We think there's $1 trillion opportunity literally when these funds and businesses start to tokenize. Trillions of dollars. So we think we're right at the inflection point this year, 2018, where security tokens start to commercialize. So now is the time and this is the place to be. So don't miss out.
Awesome. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks, Yuvi.
All right, that's it for this episode. Thanks for listening. To get all the links and show notes from this episode, go to cryptoradio.io/polymath.
If you're new to the show and you'd like a list of our top episodes and resources, go to cryptoradio.io/start. If you like our podcast, you can subscribe, share, and follow us on social media and leave us a rating and review on iTunes and elsewhere. It helps others find the show and we really appreciate it. You can find all those links at cryptoradio.io/start. And finally, if you want to be a sponsor of our show, go to cryptoradio.io/sponsor. Thanks for listening and we'll see you in the next episode.